we were supposed to deliver our annual report, which was actually going to cover 2 years of activities for the commission. But we had to cancel that presentation and then ultimately cancel our regular monthly meeting in March because of the shelter-in-place rules. And that was the first time that we had to cancel a public meeting in the 2+ years that we've been operating. So that did, I think, hinder some of the progress we were making, and just kind of stopped in its tracks some of our activities, but also gave us a moment to pause and see how best we can respond to this situation now with COVID-19. A lot of the conversation is how immigrant and refugee communities are not being included in some of those conversations. And I'll get to that with some of the legislation coming up. One thing that is also important to note is the commission itself was in a moment of transition. So we had been pushing to recruit for some new members. We had some vacancies, and we were even possibly looking at expanding the membership to include more communities that may not have been well represented in the first round of recruitment. So our motion to, or our recommendation to expand the commission was not accepted, but we did fill out the recruitment and seated 5 new commissioners just this past month. So that's basically half the roster. We had quite a bit of turnover in the last year or so, and we welcomed 5 new members and had our first regular meeting with everybody via Zoom just a few weeks ago. And as a note, our next public meeting will be taking place next Tuesday, the 26th. So normally it's on a Monday, but because of Memorial Day, this is a special meeting happening on Tuesday via Zoom, and it will be from 5:30 to 7:30. So the commission itself is structured largely around 5 committees that we have. And in particular, there's one committee focusing on the Northwest Detention Center. I know the name has changed, but we continue to insist on calling it what it is, a detention facility. We also have committees that focus on language access, community engagement, community safety, what some people also call public safety, and then an internal committee on governance. So as far as our current priorities, and really the reason we're able to meet and continue meeting, even though most of the city's committees, commissions have been put on hold, is because we're considered essential to continue to bring up the priorities and urgent issues and needs of immigrant refugee communities. So there's a recognition that that representation has to continue despite all of the shelter-in-place guidelines. What that means, though, is that our agendas are largely confined to topics that relate to COVID-19. So even if we talk about community engagement, we can't stray too far from what's immediately in front of us. So as far as those conversations taking place, a lot of it has to do with the relief services that are currently either in place, like the rental assistance program, some of the small business loans that are available, the state's cash assistance program. But I would say a lot of those conversations center on the fact that there are eligibility obstacles, eligibility criteria that are not welcoming or helpful to immigrant individuals. So right now we're in conversation with various agencies within the city of Tacoma. We have the neighborhood and community services team coming to our meeting on next Tuesday to talk more about how to make sure we're consulting with each other to make sure that immigrants' specific situations are considered in creating new services instead of trying to figure that out at the end of the process. The commission, and this is myself personally, but some of the other commissioners provided input. I participated in Tacoma's virtual town hall on immigration issues 2 weeks ago. And as I talked to Deborah about this particular session, there was more progress along some of the legislative lines than I was expecting. In particular, some of the discussion about the Northwest Detention Center and communications between the City of Tacoma staff and leadership and members of ICE. And also, I think some larger organizing efforts between City of Tacoma leadership and other cities within the state. So it sounds like King County is interested in some of the conversations that have been taking place. In particular, a letter that the City of Tacoma City Council sent to ICE asking for some clarity about the COVID-19 response procedures within the detention center, its processes and priorities around testing of individuals inside the facility and rates of infection. And so one of the things that we're doing in terms of tracking this conversation is also reminding City of Tacoma that this conversation happened largely without input from very direct input and consultation from immigrant community members, from activist organizations, and from other key stakeholders. And I know this because I was in conversation about scheduling a meeting with some council members, and they had reached out to me about possible meeting dates. And then I didn't hear back on the rest of that conversation. And next thing I heard, a letter had been sent and they were expecting a reply. So I hope that there's still that opportunity for input and discussion. It's one of the points I made in that town hall virtual session, that any next communications should really be preceded by a consultative meeting with some of the key stakeholders to not just address the substantive points about testing, about social distancing procedures and health risks for the detainees, but also, sorry, it's getting a little bit rumbly back here. I'm not worried about my well-being yet, but she is getting to be a big puppy. But also about the stylistic choices to deliver this message. So when I read through the City Council's letter to ICE, there was some language that I felt like left a lot of room for ICE to respond vaguely. City of Tacoma's letter had language like, please take all necessary steps. And those are the kinds of phrases that make it very easy for ICE to dodge and say, yes, we have our procedures in place and they cover all possible scenarios. And so rest assured, everything's great. And I think right now, it's a moment to be a little bit more specific, a little bit more precise about what information we're seeking, and also to use some numbers that ICE itself has been publishing that I think are very compelling reasons to provide more oversight and to just be more involved in the whole communication with ICE. So for example, ICE has published numbers about the number of detainees within its national network, that there are over 1,000 positive cases of COVID-19 now. And we know that the way they really move people around without notification, without any kind of consultation, that it's not really about the number of people in the Tacoma facility itself, because at any point, people from the other facilities can be moved into Tacoma without our awareness. And we know that there's at least one confirmed case in Tacoma now. And for, given our experience with this pandemic in the last 2 months, one detected case indicates probably potentially dozens of other undetected cases. So really for us to get ahead of this and to think about this as a wider community issue, not just something confined to the concrete block that is the facility itself, but really having a wider impact because it affects the workers there, it affects people leaving the facility, and once it spreads, it really is something that we can't get a hold of since oversight of the facility is rather weak at this point. So that's where the conversation is, and as I said, our commission itself has welcomed some new members, and specifically the committee on the Northwest Detention Center will see its membership double, essentially. I think we were down to, at one point, 2 active members in that committee. So I'm hopeful that with this transition, and that committee picking up more momentum, we'll be able to participate in more conversations like this with Aid Northwest and other partners that work on detention-related activities, and also just be more active and visible to the city of Tacoma to make sure that they see us as key partners in raising some of these issues. I do definitely want to leave time for questions. Like I said, this was more of an update than anything because we are in this transition period with the commission. But I do see that as a real opportunity to get involved into some of these conversations more at the start than once those trains have left.
Thank you, Jefferson. I had one question. Did you say that there's one known case of COVID-19?
Yeah, that's right. So if you look at ICE's own daily updates, and the last one was dated May 9th, so there might be a new one because they said they try to publish it daily, but I don't think that's the case. But they do list one case confirmed in Tacoma.
We had somebody post a question asking if there are funds or assistance for vulnerable individuals who are eligible for medical attention due to their status, who are not eligible for, can you speak to that at all?
I can speak only a little bit because only this past Friday, I think it was, the House passed the HEROES Act, which is meant to address some of the funding gaps for communities. It's a larger COVID-19 response, but has a specific goal of addressing some of the gaps in the first round of relief. And immigrant and refugee communities were definitely highlighted as one of those communities that was not well protected or assisted. However, because the vote only passed in the House, we don't know its fate yet. This bill still has to go to the Senate, where we know that Democrats who back this bill are not as well represented. And so there's a very good chance that the bill might not make it out of the Senate or would be substantially changed. And we know that immigration is one of those issues that the conservatives of this government really target and use to push their own agendas. So it's unlikely that we will have a firm answer this week. I think it's going to go to committee for more discussion. There will be some negotiations. So really the thing we can do right now is continue to contact our members of Congress and specifically our representatives in the Senate to try to put pressure and make sure that people see the necessity of funds for vulnerable individuals and especially around health and medical assistance.
We have another question about where you can find the ICE daily updates for the Northwest Detention Center, and can you direct people to where exactly that is?
Yeah, if you give me a minute, I can drop that link right into the chat for all of the
Awesome.
attendees. But in the meantime, feel free to throw another question. If there is one.
There is a question about, is there a plan to test all immigrants at the detention center now, and how many people are there in the Northwest Detention Center at this point?
So we don't know exact numbers, but ICE's updates, and especially in the letter that they sent to City Council, they are pretty proud of themselves for having reduced capacity below 70%. So if we think about capacity around 1,500, then we're thinking maybe about 800 people or fewer in the facility. And they said they're doing that intentionally to increase social distancing, the chance for social distancing so that people aren't as crowded. We don't have exact numbers. That's part of the conversation right now. It was in the city of Tacoma's letter to ICE to increase communication with the Tacoma Pierce County Health Department and hopefully provide better oversight and just better tracking of the situation there. And I would imagine knowing the number of people in the facility is one of those talking points. But again, that's where ICE was able to say, you know, oh, we have taken a lot of steps and we are confident about our procedures and we have kept population below 70%, so we feel good about things. Thanks for asking the question. So I think the next step is really to get those parties into the room. Tacoma, Pierce County Health Department, ICE representatives from GEO, and just be more precise about what that communication should look like.
There is a question that was raised on the chat rather than the Q&A that I sort of would like to hear the answer to. How do we know that the folks that are released from the detention center do not have or have been tested negative for COVID-19? Is that even feasible? Do they test everybody?
That's a great question. I don't have information about that. I think that's something we can definitely ask. To my knowledge, there isn't very much right now in terms of exit procedures. And I imagine Aid Northwest being involved, or at least I heard that there was some issue with the RV, so I don't know what exactly is happening right now, but given that that's what you're set up to do, I would hope there's some communication with you too, and that you're also receiving updates about what those procedures look like, given that you're one of the key stakeholders in that process. But if not, I think we really need to sit down all together and think about a more unified approach to this, because that's been one of the most glaring weaknesses of the entire COVID-19 response, is just the very piecemeal lack of comprehensive coordination overall. So that's something that I think we're definitely thinking about as a commission, and how to just get the city to be more organized in this, and maybe lead in some of that organization.
We have another question. If someone's infected at the detention center, did they provide medical services there, or are they sent to the local hospitals?
They say they are. They say they are providing that service, and in the city of Tacoma's letter, they acknowledge that those services are being provided in a clinic, a health clinic, on site at the facility. But they also noted that if that clinic was unable to cope with the health needs, both in terms of individual, but also in terms of the volume of possible cases, then what typically happens is emergency services are called from the city of Tacoma, and they have to send out fire department, medical teams. So then I imagine they would be transported out of the facility to a local hospital.
Thank you, Jefferson. I know that you have to go on to your next session. We really appreciate your spending a few moments with us today, and thank you very much for your, I don't know if it's good news, but it's news.
It's, yeah, you know, like I said, to be honest, I think we're really at the start of a lot of these conversations, because I don't think COVID-19 is going away in the next couple of weeks. I think the situation about the reopening is really about economic pressures, but as we know, that a lot of times decisions made along economic lines don't consider the well-being of individuals. And we know in particular, immigrant and refugee communities are especially vulnerable. So I feel like in a couple of weeks, we'll start to see the impacts of the decisions we're making right now. And we'll have to all come back to the table and think more about some of the actions and responses that we're designing, because it feels inadequate right now. I am still looking for that link, and I will definitely drop that into the chat box as soon as I've located it.
Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
I guess we can begin with the balance of our program. I have a few comments that I wanted to share with everybody. Deborah will spend some time talking about how COVID-19 has impacted Aid Northwest and the way in which we operate. And then we'll have at the end, we'll have some chance for a Q&A session. Please use the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen to ask your question. As you can imagine, we have had to make significant adjustments to the way in which we operate. And Deborah will go over that in a certain, but we started the year with a couple of events that we wanted to accomplish, recognizing one, the enormous amount of funds we raised in 2019 through Martha Scoville and her team to purchase a new RV, which we purchased in September of last year. We wanted to have a dedication ceremony inviting, those that fundraisers to help with the donations and clergy and that sort of thing. It originally was planned for the spring. Obviously, that got pushed back a little bit by COVID-19. We thought for the fall, and now I'm with Jefferson. We're looking at 2021. We just won't be able to gather in any significant numbers for some period of time. At least that's my belief. The other thing that we had planned was a volunteer appreciation picnic. And Deborah is out there recruiting people. There's going to be a Hawaiian theme. It's going to be August time frame. I was looking forward to that, but I'm part Hawaiian. But unfortunately, that also will get pushed out since, again, we won't be gathering with our 200 plus volunteers and significants anytime soon. Unfortunate. One other thing I wanted to bring to your attention is that we recently completed the Give Big Washington campaign. We did very well. We had this was headed off by Noelle. She did a great job getting that up and going within, weeks. It's just something that we tackled very quickly. One of the things I wanted to share with you is that on that, as part of that campaign, a videographer, Steve Taskey, put together a short interview. We had planned to do a video documenting folks staying at the hospitality house, being accepted by the Welcome Center RV outside the Detention Center, and just really tell the whole story. Steve was the professional videographer that did the BECU interview with Martha Scoville. Hopefully, some of you have seen that. It's available on YouTube. He volunteered to do a video for Aid Northwest. He did the interview at the house, and then, of course, the follow-on interviews at the Welcome Center got postponed again by COVID-19. But he was gracious enough to edit very short, which we posted on our Give Big campaign, and I'd like to share that with you, if you don't mind. And let me see, I'll share my screen. Where is that? Wait a minute. Hang on a minute. It's coming, it's coming. Wow, why don't I see this?
While we wait for that to come up, just to let everyone know, I published the, in the chat is the link that Jefferson Mok referenced regarding the coronavirus statistics. It's in the actual chat, so hopefully everyone can see it.
I'm sorry, I'm having technical difficulty here. Let's see why this is not working for me. Sorry, I just can't seem to make this work.
So we just got a question in that while we're waiting, maybe Miss Deborah can provide some answers. What are the best ways to help Aid Northwest right now?
Well, we have an Amazon wish list, and it's, if you go to our website, AIDNW.org, you can click on Amazon Smile, and then you can get to our wish list. And it has all of the things that we need for the Welcome Center and the house. We store everything at the house. So that's the best thing to do right now. I just saw a question come up about asking for younger volunteers at the Welcome Center. I am going to be doing a presentation as soon as Tim gets that video done, and there are some things in there that I'm going to be asking for help with.
Why don't we go on to Deborah's presentation, and let me see, where is it? All right, now I gotta find her presentation. There. Okay. Does everybody see that? No? How about that?
I can't see it.
You see it?
There we go. Yep.
All right, did you see the video at all, or?
No.
No, all right.
We could
Sorry.
see the link, we just couldn't see the video itself.
You could hear it.
No, there was a
No.
link to a video in your screen, but we couldn't hear anything. We could just see that in a list of file folders that you had open.
Oh, that was very helpful. Okay. All right, Deborah, you're on.
Okay, thank you, Tim. Hello, everybody. My name is Deborah Cruz, and I'm the program manager for Aid Northwest. I am so happy that all of you are here, and I'm going to do a short presentation about who we are and what we do. If you would like to have a speaker present to your group at a Zoom meeting or webinar, please contact me and I will schedule someone to speak for you. My information will be displayed at the end of the presentation, and you can also request a speaker on our website at AIDNW.org. Next slide.
Oh, sorry.
Next.
There you go.
Okay. Okay, so this slide shows a picture of the detention center, and in the front of it, you can see there was a embroidery that says love, and one of our volunteers made that. It was actually stolen and taken away. So anyways, got distracted there. So our mission statement is listed here. And I can read it. Let me get back to Well, there's our mission statement. You guys can all see it. We provide emotional support to immigrants in detention, and when they're all released, we warmly welcome them and provide transitional support. We connect released immigrants to vital resources so they know they are valued and safe and are on the path to live independent and productive lives. This picture was taken before COVID-19 with one of our dedicated volunteers hugging an immigrant right after he was released. Next.
Did I miss something? There we go. All right, sorry.
Okay. Yeah, so we're on the history now.
Yeah.
So A Northwest was established in 2004. It was called the Northwest Detention Center Roundtable, or 2005, sorry. We have $142,000 annual budget, one full-time employee, me, and a part-time paid employee who is our host coordinator at the house. And we also have an intern. We have a 9-person volunteer board and 200 active volunteers from the Puget Sound region. The detention center is not a new phenomenon. There's over a decade of caring about immigrants. The problem is not going away. Social service agencies, faith-based organizations, congressional liaisons, ICE, GEO, community members, and many others are involved in the detention center. So if you haven't seen it, this is a picture of the actual detention center.
Sorry.
We have had a detention center in this area since 1931. The former 160-bed detention center was located in the Immigration and Naturalization Service building in Seattle. It was closed in 2004 when this facility was built in Tacoma. In 2004, they had 500 beds. In 2006, they expanded to 950 beds. And today they have the capacity to hold 1,570 beds. So it has more than tripled in size in 14 years. The detention center is surrounded by warehouses and light manufacturing companies. The ICE Northwest Processing Center is the only building approved for residents in the Tacoma Tide Flats. It is 1.25 miles from public transportation options. So in terms of where is a good place for a detention center, Tacoma is probably among the best. Services, caring volunteers, agencies, and help both during and after detainment. Next. Okay, so without A Northwest involvement and assistance, many released asylees and immigrants would be without shelter, without plans for their future, unable to access services, and no way to contact family members and friends. Their introduction to life in America would be heartless, and they could become homeless. Every organization should ask themselves this question: what would happen if we did not exist? So if we didn't exist, those are the answers. They could become homeless. And especially with COVID-19 right now, you know, it could be a bigger problem than what it already is. We strive to be compassionate and treat people with dignity. Again, as controversial as it is, there will always be detention centers. This is a good place to locate one because of the assistance that we and other agencies can provide. Next. Okay, so these programs are, I wrote these in red because all of these programs are affected by COVID-19. As you can see in that picture there, this is at our hospitality house, and we used to have monthly family dinners where volunteers could come and cook, and the residents could enjoy talking with them and eating with them, and that's something obviously we can't do right now. We have several office volunteers that cannot come in right now. So basically, they are still working from home, so that's great. I go in and scan them work, and then they do the database from home. So that's working pretty well, but of course, it is a tragedy not to have, other people around. And then donations, we used to accept donations at the door. We cannot, or we would actually let people in to accept donations. We cannot do that right now. So, and the Amazon wish list is a good thing. You can also mail in donations if you see something that you want to purchase. You can mail it to the house, and I go in and pick up those packages. So, okay.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, so the other programs, obviously the Welcome Center is our RV that is parked outside the detention center. Dedicated volunteers are there Monday through Friday waiting for immigrants to be released. We provide them with telephones to call their loved ones, give them backpacks and toiletries and snacks, and help them with their travel plans. Currently, we are operating that program outside. We have set up 2 canvas tents, and we have volunteers coming in, and one person goes in, takes the supplies out, puts them out underneath the tents, so that we can practice social distancing with our volunteers as well. Our transportation program is called PDAN, it's Post-Detention Accompaniment Network. They are still operating by coming to the RV and picking up people if they need a ride to a hotel or an airport, or the airport. And then our visitation program is not operating right now, but they are writing letters. I counted 48 letters that were sent out last month to the detainees that they were visiting. We also get requests from Northwest Immigrants' Rights Project for people that want us to write letters to them. And so that 48 number is what I saw at the office. They use our office address as the return address because obviously we don't want people to give out their current address, and just for privacy and security reasons. But if they have an office or they have their church that they want to have them sent to, then they can send them there too. So there might be more than just 48. On Mother's Day, some volunteers sent 56 letters inside for mothers in there. And I haven't heard if they have received them yet, but I'm sure that they were very happy to get them, or will be happy to get them. Sometimes it takes time for ICE because they open up the letters before they give it to them. So, and then you see a picture of some masks down there on the right-hand corner. We've had hundreds of masks sent in. So we're volunteers making them, visitation volunteers, other people. There was a group of people that sent me 150 masks, and they were from Idaho. They heard that what we were doing. And so that's been great because we were able to give them to all of the people that are released, and the volunteers then have masks too that they can take home and wash and wear next time they come in. Okay, so I'll go to the next screen because it's got a picture. This is a picture of people underneath the canopies, helping them make travel plans. And you can see they all have masks on. We have hand sanitizer. We have a lot of processes in place to keep our volunteers and the people that are released safe. Okay. If you are interested in becoming a volunteer at the Welcome Center or a PDAN, Post-Detention Accompaniment Network person, which is a transportation program, we're probably gonna have to change the name of that because it just becomes so lengthy in trying to even say that, Post-Detention Accompaniment Network. But anyway, so it's our transportation program, but you can fill out an application online at AIDNW.org. And just keep in mind that if you have any health issues, you won't want to apply for that. We do, like I said, wear masks and all that, but we don't want anybody that could be more at risk in coming in contact with COVID-19. Okay, and then if you want to share your talent, go back.
Oh, good.
Share your talent. The board is always looking for talented people to join. If you have experience in being on a board or want to join a committee, you can fill out an application again online at AIDNW.org, and a board member will contact you to give you more information for the board, or a committee member could contact you if you're interested in joining a committee. We have a marketing committee that's looking for new people. If you have experience with web design or any Facebook, Instagram, those types of things, we need people to help with that. And the fundraising committee can always use people that have experience in fundraising, because that's how we keep going. So. Okay, so one of the last slides. Share as you are able to help. Without you and your support, we could not continue our mission. Please consider becoming a sustaining donor. Monetary items are accepted online or by mail at our office address on this slide. Okay. Last. So the last slide, thank you for your support. And I'll take questions. Thank you very much.
One of the questions that we just received are, would it be suitable for a released detainee to be in a 2-week isolation within a hotel?
It would be suitable, but there are actually, the Pierce County Health Department was setting up a hotel, which I asked Jefferson about just the other day. And they haven't finished the planning on that. So, as you know, it would cost a lot for someone to be put up in a hotel for 2 weeks. But that is a free service, so I'm not sure when or if it's going to come about.
It looks like we don't really have any other questions, but we do have a comment. Somebody said that Lillian Fowler reported to Twitter that there was a confirmed case that was transferred from Oregon to the Northwest Detention Center, and supposedly it was the second confirmed case of COVID within the detention center.
Yeah, I was told by ICE that they are not releasing anyone if they are sick, but I was never told if they were doing testing as they left. So,
Okay, if there's nothing else, then we will call that a wrap. And thank you very much for attending.
I see another question coming in from Donna.
Oh,
I saw it come through, but I don't.
Donna's asking if any chance of moving the RV closer to the gate. The answer is no.
No.
As you may or may not know, last year we met, Deborah and myself met with the ICE officer. He was the one that suggested, well, I guess the word is strongly suggested that we move the RV closer to where it is right now. He actually picked the spot. We didn't pick it. When we asked for the rationale behind that, he said that primarily there was a issue of security. Apparently they had a security incident because our new RV is much larger than the old one. The guards could not see the building across the street. So he really wanted it moved. And since we depend upon cooperation with both GEO and ICE, we moved that in January. So it is where it is. Is there anything else, or otherwise we will wrap this up for this morning? All right. Well, thank you all for attending. We truly appreciate it. We will try to do this again.